Welcome to the Reality Revolution. I'm your host, Brian Scott, and today we are talking about why your timeline shifts keep collapsing. I just got back from Maine from 3 days in the woods with people from all over the world who came together for one reason: to shift their timelines, to step into higher versions of themselves, to quantum jump into new realities. Something happened there that I need to share with you. Something that changed everything about how I understand transformation, about how I've been teaching, about what's actually possible when we stop doing this work the way we've been doing it. On the second night, after an intensive day of future self-integration work, after watching people access versions of themselves they didn't know existed, after witnessing breakthrough after breakthrough after breakthrough, we were sitting around talking, and someone said something that hit me like a lightning bolt. They said, "Brian, I've been watching your content for 3 years. I've listened to thousands of hours of your meditations. I've learned timeline shifting, reality transurfing, future self-integration. And I've had glimpses. I've had moments. I've had experiences that showed me what's possible. But this," and they gestured around the room at all of us sitting there together, "this is the first time I felt like I'm actually doing it, like it's actually real, like it's actually working in a way that might actually stick." And then everyone in the room started nodding, and everyone started sharing the same thing. Person after person saying, "Yes, this is different. This is what's been missing." I realized something that's been gnawing at me for months, maybe years. Something I haven't wanted to fully acknowledge because it means admitting that everything I've been doing, as powerful as it's been, as many millions of people as it's reached, as much transformation as it's created, has only been giving you a fraction of what's actually possible. A fraction. And that fraction isn't because the teachings are incomplete. It's not because the techniques don't work. It's not because you're not dedicated enough or spiritual enough or evolved enough or focused enough. It's because of how you've been receiving these teachings. It's because of the platform we've been using. It's because of the fundamental structure of how we've been doing this work together. And today, I'm going to show you exactly why your timeline shifts keep collapsing, why your manifestations appear and then disappear, why you keep quantum jumping into new realities only to get dragged back to your old life within weeks, months, or minutes in some cases. This is a part of 2 episodes. And in this next episode, what we have tomorrow, I'm going to reveal something I've been building for months now that changes everything. But first, I want you to understand the problem, the real problem, the one that's been invisible because we've all just accepted it as normal. Let me tell you something about YouTube that you probably already know intellectually but haven't fully absorbed emotionally. YouTube is not designed for your transformation. YouTube is designed to keep you watching YouTube. Every algorithm, every recommendation, every feature is optimized for one metric: watch time. How long can we keep you on the platform? How many videos can we get you to click on? How engaged can we keep you without actually helping you leave the platform and go apply what you've learned? This creates a fundamental conflict between what I want to give you and what the platform allows me to give you. Believe me, I love YouTube. YouTube has been amazing for me. It's been an incredible opportunity to reach and connect with so many people around the world. I have people contacting me on a regular basis that I have helped to change their life. And what can you say to that? Somebody says that. I mean, it's so amazing to hear that from someone. But I have a lot of people that also are not quite there. I want to take you deep. I want to share the teachings that actually create permanent shifts in your reality. I want to give you the controversial tools, the advanced techniques, the mystical texts that have created every major breakthrough in my life and in the lives of the most successful people I've worked with. But YouTube won't let me. Not because YouTube is evil, they're great, but because YouTube is a business optimizing for metrics that have nothing to do with your transformation and everything to do with advertiser-friendly content that keeps the masses clicking. So what happens? I have to carefully craft every video to be palatable to the broadest possible audience. Sometimes I take a chance and I focus on a topic or a particular idea that I know for sure is just simply not going to appeal to as large of an audience. I have to avoid topics that might get flagged. I have to keep things surface level enough that someone who's never heard of consciousness work can still find value, which means I can never go as deep as the advanced practitioners need. And here's where it gets insidious. You don't even know what you're missing because you've never experienced the full depth of the teachings. You've only experienced the YouTube algorithm approved version, the sanitized version, the version that has to appeal to everyone, which means it can fully serve no one. Think about it this way. What if everything you know about timeline shifting and quantum jumping and reality creation and the law of attraction is like having a map with 70% of the terrain missing? You can navigate what's visible on the map. You can even have access with the visible territory, but you keep running into the edges where the map just ends, where you suddenly don't know how to proceed, where you hit walls that seem insurmountable because you don't have the information for that section of the journey. That's what YouTube has done to these teachings. It's given you a partial map, and you've been trying to navigate a complete journey with incomplete information. But the platform limitation is only part of the problem. There's something even deeper, even more destructive to your timeline shifting, and it's this. You're doing this alone. And I can't reach you. Right now, you're probably watching this video alone, in your room, in your car, on your phone, consuming content in isolation, the way we consume everything in the modern world. And here's the heartbreaking truth I've had to face. There are thousands, maybe millions of you out there trying to apply these teachings, running into challenges, hitting walls, getting stuck, having questions, needing guidance, and I have no way to help you. You leave comments that I can't respond to personally. You send emails that get lost in the flood of messages. You want coaching but can't afford the sessions, or you are in a place where you can't do it, or I can't quite match your time frame to get a session in. You want to come to live events, but you're across the world, or you can't afford it, or you don't have time, or you're too far away. They fill up before you can get in. And you're left to figure it out on your own, alone with your practice, alone with your questions, alone with your breakthroughs and your setbacks. And I'm over here creating content, knowing that so many of you need more than videos, but having no way to bridge that gap. I deeply care about all of you. I want for you to live the greatest life. My dream is that your dreams be fulfilled. That's my greatest timeline. This is not just about you being isolated. It's about me being isolated from you. I'm speaking into the void, uploading videos, hoping they'll help, but never really knowing what's working, what's not working, where you're getting stuck, what you need more clarity on. Here's what I realized in Maine at the Golden Heart Estates, watching people transform in real time. Timeline shifting doesn't work in isolation. Not really, not permanently. It can work, especially with a lot of support. You can shift timelines alone. I have done it. You have probably done it. You can access future selves alone. You can quantum leap into new realities alone. But here's what happens. You shift into a new reality. Everything is different. You're different. You're thinking differently, acting differently, vibrating at a different frequency. You have stepped into a new timeline where new things are possible. And then you hit a challenge. Something unexpected, something I never covered in a video, something that's specific to your situation, your psychology, your unique background and circumstances, and you need guidance, you need help. You reach out to me on email or put a comment in a video. You need someone who understands this work to help you navigate. But you can't reach me, you can't afford coaching, you can't get to a live event. So you guess, you improvise. You hope you're doing it right. And often you slip back. Not because the technique doesn't work, not because you're not capable, but because you hit a challenge that required guidance you couldn't access. You look for a video on it, you try to find a book on it, you become voracious, trying to find a solution to your particular problem. Meanwhile, your environment hasn't changed. Your relationships haven't changed. No one around you is holding you accountable to your new reality. No one is witnessing your transformation and reflecting it back to you. No one understands what you're going through or can guide you when you hit the inevitable challenges of maintaining a new timeline. So what happens? Slowly, subtly, sometimes so gradually, you don't even notice, you drift back. The old reality pulls you back in. Not because the shift wasn't real, not because you failed, but because you're trying to maintain a new reality alone, surrounded by people and environments that are anchored in your old reality, without access to the guidance and support that would help you stay in your new timeline. This is the isolation trap, and it's a two-way problem. You're isolated from the support you need, and I'm isolated from the ability to give you that support in a way that doesn't require one-on-one coaching or limited capacity live events. In Maine, I watched people hold each other in new realities, watch someone integrate a future self, then have me and several other people immediately start treating them as that future self, talking to them as that person, expecting that level of consciousness from them, reflecting that identity back to them continuously. And when they hit a challenge, they could ask questions in real time and get guidance specific to their situation. And the shift stuck because they weren't alone. They had witnesses, they had guidance, they had a community holding them in their new identity while their nervous system adjusted to operating at that level. I can only do a handful of these live events per year. I'm going to try to do as many as I can. I'm expanding the numbers that I can do. I can only work with a limited number of people in private coaching. I can only do so many a day. I'm booked out for months, and that leaves thousands of you without access to the support that makes transformation permanent. You cannot sustain a timeline shift when you're surrounded by people who only know you as you were, with no access to guidance when you hit challenges. You need people who see you as who you are becoming and hold that vision steady when you're tempted to slip back. You need access to guidance when you're stuck. You need community accountability when your old patterns try to pull you back. But YouTube can't give you that. No matter how many videos I make, no matter how powerful the meditations, you're still consuming this alone. You're still practicing alone. You're still trying to maintain your shifts alone, without the ability to ask me questions, without community support, without the accountability that makes transformation stick. And I'm over here frustrated that I can't help more people, that the only options I've had is coaching or limited live events, leaving so many of you around the world without access to the support you actually need from me or someone else. This has been eating at me for months, perhaps years, when I'm being honest about it. How do I bridge this gap? How do I help the thousands of people who need more than these videos, who need access to exclusive content but can't access traditional coaching or live events? Let me tell you about what you're not getting on YouTube. The teachings I can't share, the tools I can't give you, the content that would get my channel restricted, demonetized, or deleted if I spoke about it openly. You want to know why some of your timeline shifts work and others don't? You want to know why certain manifestations stick and others collapse? Let me tell you about the missing pieces that YouTube won't let me teach you about. Sexual energy. One of the most powerful forces for reality creation, for consciousness expansion, for timeline shifts that exist in the human experience. Every mystical tradition knows about this. Every advanced practitioner uses this, but try having an honest, adult, spiritually mature conversation about sexual energy and manifestation on YouTube. See how fast that video gets age restricted or demonetized. I've already tried. I have several episodes I've put together and YouTube would not allow me to monetize those videos. So you're trying to shift timelines without understanding how to work with one of the most potent energetic forces in your body. Your manifestation with one hand tied behind your back because you can't talk about this openly on a platform designed for advertiser-friendly content. Then there's plant medicines, psychedelics, cannabis, the consciousness expanding tools that have catalyzed breakthrough after breakthrough for practitioners throughout history. Tools that used consciously and intentionally can create quantum leaps in awareness that might take years to achieve through meditation alone. Revelations about extraterrestrial intelligences that would completely distort my channel, and people would think, hey Brian, what's going on? Why are you talking about this stuff? But I can't teach you how to work with these tools on YouTube. I can't share the protocols, the intentions, the integration practices that make these experiences transformational rather than just recreational. So you're left to figure it out on your own, or worse, to avoid these tools entirely because you've been told they're not spiritual. The I Am discourses, you might have noticed that they're not available on my YouTube channel. The Saint Germain teachings that have been suppressed, hidden, misunderstood. Some of the most powerful reality creation teachings ever transmitted. Not easily digestible in a 20-minute YouTube video format. Neville Goddard's complete teachings, Joseph Murphy's full work, not the sanitized Instagram quote-friendly versions. The full, unfiltered, sometimes challenging, always powerful, complete teachings that require sustained study and application. I can give you bite-sized pieces on YouTube, I can share highlights, but I can't take you through these texts systematically, deeply, with the context and application that makes them actually work. Plus, a lot of my teachings get lost in the shuffle. I'm creating daily content, thousands of videos that sort of just slip through the cracks. And I have tried to organize these and put them into a way so that I can teach them together. Do you see what I'm saying? The teachings that create permanent shifts, the tools that generate quantum leaps rather than incremental change, the practices that actually work at the deepest levels, most of them can't be shared on YouTube or properly shared on YouTube or used properly as I want to teach them. So you're working with a fraction of the available technology. You're trying to shift realities with only the tools that are considered safe and acceptable by corporate algorithm standards. And you wonder why shifts don't stick. Let me paint you a picture of what's actually happening when you try to master timeline shifting through just a YouTube video. You watch a video on reality transurfing. It's powerful. 20 minutes that gives you the highlights, the core concepts, enough to get started. Then you watch one on quantum jumping, another 20 minutes, then Neville Goddard's law of assumption, then future self-integration, then dimensional jumping. Here's what I've realized. I'm giving you the appetizers, the introductions, the overviews, but I can never take you into the deep because YouTube doesn't reward depth, it rewards breadth. The algorithm wants me to make videos that appeal to as many people as possible, which means I have to keep things accessible, digestible, surface level enough that someone brand new can still follow along. YouTube also honors replication. If I do well on a money video, they want me to create a lot of money videos, and that's great. I have a lot of content that I can do that in. But timeline shifting mastery doesn't happen at the surface level. It happens in the depths that we can never reach in a 20 or 30-minute video. It comes when we bring my teachings together comprehensively into master courses. Think about it. I've introduced you to quantum jumping, reality transurfing, Neville Goddard's work, Joseph Murphy's teachings, Anthony Norvell, Quo, dimensional shifting, timeline navigation, future self-integration. You know about all these approaches, but do you know them? Have you gone deep enough with any of them to master the subtleties, the advanced applications, the troubleshooting when things don't work? Or do you know the highlight reel version? The YouTube-friendly, algorithm-optimized, mass appeal version that gives you enough to understand the concept, but not enough to master the practice. Real timeline shifting requires going deep. It requires studying complete texts, complicated ideas, not just quotable parts. It requires systematic progression from foundation to intermediate to advanced, spending weeks or months at each level until you've truly integrated. I've tried to do this with certain vectors through my channel over time, but I can't do that on YouTube like I wish I could. If I made a 12-part series where we spent several hours on each chapter of The Power of Your Subconscious Mind, most people would click away. The algorithm would stop recommending it. The platform actively punishes depth in favor of breadth in some cases. So what happens is you get introduction after introduction. You become an expert in beginnings, but never advanced to mastery. Now, I've tried my best to advance you to mastery through certain concepts and principles over a period of time. But you might catch one or two videos. I've tried to create playlists so that I could integrate some of these teachings, but you end up knowing just a little bit about everything, but not enough to create that permanent shift you're seeking. I see this in the comments constantly. People saying, I've been doing this for years and I still can't shift my reality permanently. And when I dig deeper, I discover they've never actually gone deep with any single teaching. They've consumed hundreds of videos and never studied the more complete versions of these philosophies. They know the concepts, but haven't done the deep practice. It's not your fault. Totally normal. It's the limitation of the platforms that we're accessing this information on. I mean, thank goodness for YouTube. There's a lot of information I would not have if it weren't for YouTube. YouTube is incredible for introducing concepts, for inspiration, for keeping us motivated. I am accessing information from YouTube that I would never access in other places. And yes, there's books available. I've read many of them on YouTube. But there's certain limitations that I have with my own teachings that require depth that algorithms don't reward, that limit what I can offer you if I want to really focus on certain topics or teachings or be more specific with what you need. Let me share something that happened in Maine that made this devastatingly clear. We spent 3 days going deep with future self-integration. Not just the technique. We went into the theory, the practice, the troubleshooting, the advanced applications, the integration challenges, the embodiment process. We spent hours on elements that I can only mention in passing in a YouTube video. And people had breakthroughs in 3 days that they hadn't achieved in 3 years of watching my YouTube content. Not because the YouTube content was wrong, but because they finally experienced what it's like going deep instead of staying on the surface. One person told me, I thought I understood your teachings. I've watched hundreds of your videos, but I didn't really understand them until I experienced the depth that can fit it into a YouTube video format. There's so much more to this than I ever realized. That's the depth crisis. I could create 7 videos over a week, but YouTube would punish me because over time, each of those videos would become more and more complicated. YouTube has made you familiar with profound teachings that can take you deep enough to master them. And mastery is what creates permanent timeline shifts. The teachings on my channel are real. They work. I'm going to continue posting on a regular basis. But they're the surface layer of something much deeper that the platform won't let me share in the way that I need to share. And that's the depth that creates the difference between temporary glimpses and permanent transformation. There's another piece of the puzzle. It might be the most important one. You're consuming this content passively. Right now you're watching this video, maybe you're nodding along, maybe you're taking notes, maybe you're really engaged. But at the end of this video, you're going to click on the next video or close YouTube or go do something else, and you'll never speak about what you've learned here. You'll never share your experiences. You'll never ask questions. You'll never get feedback. You're treating transformation content like entertainment, passive consumption, input without output, learning without application feedback, practice without course correction. And passive consumption creates passive transformation. Or more accurately, it creates the illusion of transformation without actual change. Let me tell you what real transformation looks like. Real transformation is active. It's engaged. It's participatory. It requires dialogue, not monologue. It requires you to share your experiences and get feedback. It requires you to ask questions and get answers specific to your situation. It requires you to practice and have that practice witnessed and refined. Every master in every tradition throughout all of human history learned through relationship, through dialogue with a teacher, through community with fellow practitioners, through feedback and adjustment and accountability. How do I do this on a large scale with all of the wonderful people that are following my content? Modern digital learning has convinced us that we transform through passive consumption. We can't. We never could. That's not how human development works. In Maine, people weren't just learning techniques, they were practicing them together, sharing their experiences, getting feedback, asking questions, having their practice witnessed and refined. They were active participants in their own transformation, not just passive consumers of transformation content. And they had skin in the game. They invested in themselves. They came and wanted to do their best, and it allowed for them to be a part of their own transformation in this way. And the results were incomparable to what happens through passive video consumption. One person said to me, "I've done your future self-integration meditation 20 times alone in my room, but doing it once here with other people, with live guidance, with the ability to ask questions afterwards. I learned more in that one session than in all 50 solitary attempts." Because transformation is not about information. You don't need more information if information alone created transformation. Everyone who reads self-help books would be enlightened masters. Transformation helps through engaged practice with feedback, accountability, and community support. And YouTube can't give you that. No matter how good the content, it's still passive consumption. It plays a role. It does its part. So let's add this up. Let's look at the real cost of trying to do this work through the current paradigm. You're getting fragmented teachings filtered through platform algorithms that prioritize advertiser friendliness over depth. You're missing the most important tools and teachings because they can't be shared on mainstream platforms. You're trying to shift timelines in isolation without community support, without accountability, without people holding you in your own new reality. You're consuming passively instead of practicing actively. You're fragmenting your consciousness across hundreds of different techniques instead of mastering complete systems with feedback and help and a community of people that are supporting you. And the result is that you've been trying to shift timelines for months or years. You've had glimpses, you've had moments, you've had experiences that show you what's possible, but the shifts don't stick, the manifestations collapse. The new realities fade back into old patterns. Not because the techniques don't work, not because you're not capable, but because you're trying to create transformation through a system that was never designed to facilitate transformation. You're trying to shift realities using a fraction of the available teachings alone, through passive consumption with fragmented practice, and wondering why you're not getting the results you want. I also plan on doing lots of live events to deal with this problem. But many people have said, "Hey Brian, can I purchase a virtual ticket so that I can watch this event?" I could set up an entire separate funnel where I get people to purchase tickets for these events, as I've done in the past with RealityCon. But in many ways, it would become this whole elaborate thing. I want to make it so When I hold these live events, there's a place that people can go and they can watch these live events. They can access them and possibly participate with those live events in a group together. So if I'm speaking in London, then you can participate in those events and become a part of it and watch as these teachings become more elaborate, deeper, more contextual, and more powerful over time. How do I facilitate something like this? When you enable active participation instead of passive consumption, breakthroughs happen that seem impossible before. When you remove platform limitations and can share the full spectrum of teachings, people access tools they didn't even know existed. I've seen it happen too many times to doubt it. I've experienced it myself too profoundly to deny it in other realms. In my own journey, the biggest leaps didn't come from learning new techniques. They came from being part of communities where I could practice deeply, get feedback, be held accountable, and access teachings that weren't available through mainstream channels. The teachers who changed my life didn't just give me information. They gave me systematic progression through complete teachings with community support and active guidance. And in Maine, I watched in real time people who had been stuck for years suddenly breaking through because they had the complete system, the community support, the active engagement, friends, and guidance. One person shifted a timeline in 3 days they've been trying to shift for 3 years, not because I gave them a new technique, but because they experienced what they already knew in a completely different structure. This is what I've learned. The teachings work. Timeline shifting is real. Future self-integration creates quantum leaps. Reality can be shifted, but it requires a structure that facilitates transformation rather than just information consumption. So here's where I am. I've spent the last several months building something different. Something that solves every single problem I've described today. Something that gives you the complete teachings, the community support, the active engagement, the deeper tools, the systematic progression that creates permanent timeline shifts instead of temporary glimpses. It's not another YouTube channel. It's not another course that you consume passively. It's not another collection of scattered techniques. It's something that people have been asking me to do for a very long time. It's something completely different. Something I've never offered before. Something that changes the entire structure of how we work together. And in tomorrow's episode, in the next episode, I'm going to reveal exactly what this is, why I created it, how it works, and how you can be a part of it if you're ready. But before I share that, I need you to ask yourself some honest questions. Are you willing to keep getting partial results with partial teachings? Or are you ready for the complete system? Are you willing to keep trying to shift timelines in isolation? Or are you ready for community support? Are you willing to keep consuming passively? Or are you ready to participate actively in your own transformation? Are you willing to keep fragmenting your practice across dozens of different approaches? Or are you ready to master a complete system? Because what I'm building isn't for everyone. It's not for casual consumers. It's not for people who want to keep collecting techniques without ever going deep. It's not for people who want transformation without engagement. It's for people who want to take it to the next level, who are done playing small, who are ready to go big, who are ready to truly prosper, to truly heal, to truly find love, who are ready to access the complete teachings, who understand that transformation requires community, accountability, active participation, who are willing to go deep instead of wide. If that's you, then the next episode is the most important thing that you'll watch all year. So be looking on Saturday, or if you're watching this after the fact, keep an eye out, because part 2 of this is going to be coming out. I'm going to show you exactly how to stop getting partial results and start experiencing the complete transformation that you've been seeking. This is episode 1 of a 2-part series. Episode 2 drops tomorrow, and I'm making a major announcement that will change everything about how we do this work together and give you an opportunity to expand and transform in every way that I can make possible for you. The question is, are you ready to stop consuming and start transforming? I'll see you in episode 2 tomorrow. And until then, feel the weight of what I've shared today. Sit with the recognition of how the current structure has been limiting your results. If you're achieving partial manifestations, or maybe you're finding that perfect relationship and then it falls apart, or you're getting a certain amount of money and then you lose it right away, your timeline is waiting, but it requires a different approach, a more expansive approach than what you've been using. Episode 2 comes tomorrow, and everything changes. You can find all episodes of The Reality Revolution at therealityrevolution.com. To join me for my event in Los Angeles on November 21st through the 23rd, you can check the link in the description. You can go to www.brianscottlive.com/event-November, and welcome to the Reality Revolution. Hello, it's Brian Scott. And I'm beyond excited to finally announce a live, in-person, 3-day event that I'm hosting in Los Angeles on November 21st through the 23rd. And when you walk away from this event, your life will be changed forever. Whatever it is that you're looking for right now, if you need to heal from something, to find the love of your life, to find wealth, to find your purpose, to ascend, to evolve, whatever that is, whatever your desire, this event is designed to bring that to you. There is a timeline available for you where you can live the very best life that you could ever imagine, where everything is always working out for you. And this event is designed to shift you into that reality and make it something tangible and real that you experience. I promise you that this will change your life.